All right, guys, welcome to meeting number 1 for this year's SHAC committee. For those of you who do not know me, my name is John White. I will be kind of, at least as of right now, in charge of the committee until we kind of go through some initial house items such as just reviewing our bylaws, reviewing our committee membership criteria, possibly making some election calls for officers and things like that. So that'll be some of the things that we get into in just a few minutes. But I wanted to quickly check with Nurse Abbott because we do have a presentation from an outside vendor who is with CATCH, the CATCH program, which is one of the programs that is under the Coordinated School Health Program. And that was actually something we were going to get after on the agenda for maybe in the middle towards the end, but because we have her now, what's that? She'd be good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So to honor her time, we're going to kind of go ahead and just allow her to kick this off so that we can kind of listen to her and what she has to say, and then we'll kind of just get back to the agenda and kind of go through that. Ms. Green, can you hear us? Okay. Can we hear her? We cannot. We can. Ms. Green, you can hear us, right? Okay. Can you say something? I think she did say something. Okay, Orlando. Did Orlando leave already? The volume. So, the presenter can hear us, but she can't hear. She can hear. We can't hear her. Although we've got some good lip readers in the room. So.
Can you hear? Are you able to hear us?
When this happens at work, I sing my ABCs, and then they're like, "Oh, J-H-I." And I was like, okay, you can hear me now.
Can you hear us?
She heard us a second, yeah.
Test. Test.
It is.
I think I'm all plugged in. Right?
Oh, you can hear her. Can she hear us?
Any luck?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we should be good, right?
But can she hear
Can
us?
she hear us?
Ms. Green, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Orlando, thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, Ms. Green, say, welcome to Tolosa Midway ISD SHAC Committee. This is our first meeting of the school year, and to be honest with you, you are our first item on the agenda and our first presenter, so no pressure.
All right. Well, first, before we get started, I just want to thank you for participating on your SHAC committee. For many years, I was leading the SHAC committee for my district, and I know that it's a big commitment. So I just want to thank you for your time and what you're going to do. All right. Let's go ahead and dive in. Actually, can you give me presenting abilities, please?
Orlando.
I can share my screen.
Share screen.
Well, hold on. Right there.
Still disabled.
I think it says enable participants to share screen or something like that.
I know, why am I, it's like I haven't done this in a while.
Participants, yeah.
I'm good, I've got it.
Got it, okay.
Got it. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So just real quick, this is just a overview about Catch, who we are. We're Texas-based, and so we'll kind of dive in that first. Then after this, I'm going to preview all of our curriculum. I'm going to move kind of quickly, but please, stop me if you have questions. But I know we're short on time. I want to try to do all the presentation in at least 20 minutes, so then we've got plenty of time for Q&A after that. All right, so diving in. First, again, we're Texas-based, so we are, evidence-based. We're right here in Texas. We are TEA-approved curriculum, and when I say curriculum, I'm talking about our health. We have physical education. We have social-emotional learning, and then we have Catch My Breath, which is our vaping curriculum. So all of that is evidence-based. Everything that Catch produces, we make sure to research and study before we put that curriculum out. We are aligned to 100% of our TEKS, and that's the new TEKS that we're going into effect this year. And that's everything except for reproductive health. Because we want to make sure that we're experts in the field, we decided to kind of stay in our lane and just develop curriculum that we have scientific partners with. And so we are not doing reproductive health, but we do have organizations that we work for if that's something, or work with if that's something that you need. We are widely adopted in Texas, so there's lots of great districts that we can put you in touch with if you're looking to get references for our curriculum and training. So what sets us apart? Catch is evidence-based. Evidence-based means that it has been researched, we are peer-reviewed, and so we know that when we work together, we use Catch curriculum, we create an environment that we can see a change at the campus level. And a lot of programs are evidence-informed, which means they build on prior knowledge, but we are truly like evidence-based. So when we're talking about health and wellness for our kiddos, we're actually talking more about behavior change than we are about knowledge. See, we can all know that it's really important to eat, broccoli every day and your vegetables, but actually making that a habit is a little bit different. We can all know how important it is to get physical activity in each day, but again, we don't have an environment that allows for that. It can make things kind of difficult. So Catch is based off of social cognitive theory. And so what we do is with our students, we help them to gain knowledge. We help them to build on their skills, their health and wellness skills. We have environmental support so that we can make effective change on the environment. And what that ends up, or what is created by that, is healthy decision making. And so that's what the ultimate goal is we're trying to have our students make healthy decisions. And so we want to make the healthy choice the easy choice on all of our campuses. These are the Catch programs. Some of them are absolutely free, thanks to a generous donation from our different scientific partners. Catch My Breath is completely free, as well as Catch Healthy Smiles and Sun Beatables or Sun Safety. Our paid programming includes our nutrition and health education. That's called Health Ed Journeys. Also our Catch PE curriculum, and then our SEL curriculum, and we'll take a brief look at all of those. They all work really well together, and they're all aligned, but also we know that districts have lots of great choices, and so you can purchase individual curriculum if that works best for you. There's a couple other things about Catch. We truly use a whole child coordination approach. That's always been our foundation. As a matter of fact, C in Catch stands for coordination. So we're a coordinated approach to child health. We're also a nonprofit, so all the work that we do is to help fund other projects and programs. We're just pouring any profit back into our school districts. Everything that we've created is all very inclusive. It's multicultural. We've got multiple languages, so we just make sure that there's a lot of inclusive practices that are put in place. We are 100% digital, so you can get all of your curriculum online if you want to. The PE curriculum does still come in a hard copy because we know sometimes our educators just want to hold the curriculum in their hand, but everything else can be done on our easy to navigate digital platform. This again just reiterates that we cover all of those TEKS except for reproductive health. And that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the curriculum that we have and how it all works together. So whenever you become a CATCH user or you become part of the CATCH family, you will have a dashboard. And on your dashboard, that's where you navigate all of your curriculum pieces. For today, we're going to start with our health education. Health education is done, we have a couple of bundles. We have our elementary bundle and we have our middle school bundle. We're currently looking at the elementary right here. One thing I love about our health education, and well, really all of our education, is that we really see health and wellness as a journey. And so we have these journals that are created for your students. Let me actually pull this one up so you can view it. And so this journal will help the students to kind of go on that journey throughout the school year, whether that's a semester or a full year of health and wellness. So this is an interactive journal. It's a great place for those students to create their own personal goals, to track any type of health habits that they've created. And it also works really well with all of our lessons. And so sometimes this is where they're putting in all the information. So this again is the elementary journal. Our middle school journal is grade level appropriate, so you're not going to see the graphics as much, and it's going to have more in-depth questions, and also we have a lot of peer guided activities, and so that's going to be visible in our middle school curriculum as well. All right, so headed back to our health curriculum. All of this was actually written from the TEKS because, again, being Texas-based, that's where we wanted to start from. So everything here you see are the different strands that are available in the TEKS. And so it's very, it's laid out to be very user-friendly for our teachers. All of the lessons, you can drop down and see them right here. And it's a 36 weeks, so it matches a full year. And then there's always a week for your health journal that we just saw. So looking into one of the lessons, you're going to find that they're very engaging. So right here, this is just kind of all the information that the teacher would need to get ready to teach, objectives, big ideas, discussion questions to get kids excited. There's also going to be 2 activities to teach that lesson. So those activities are usually very different. One of them might be a sit-down activity, and the other one's going to have a little bit more physical activity built in. Then, if you want to add even more physical activity, you can do the MVP challenge. And what that does is it takes the lesson and puts it in a very active setting. So you've got that option as well. Grade level differentiation is all available right here. And then standards alignments are front and center so that you know that you're covering all of the standards. One thing I love is just how user-friendly these lessons are. We know how busy our teachers are. We also know that health is taught in multiple different ways. So it might be taught in the classroom by classroom teachers. It might be taught in the gym. And so we've made sure that it's very flexible so that they can use it however they see fit. So these Google Slides can be done through Google Slide, or it can be downloaded and saved on your desktop. And this will walk you through all of those lessons. So we will always remain teacher-led instruction. We, again, feel like it's all about a journey, and so we want to make sure that the teacher's still a big part of teaching that. It's not ever going to be like a plug-and-play video that you see. So the teacher's leading this lesson, but the other thing is they don't have to do a whole lot of work to prepare for it, because everything they need to know, all of the teacher notes, are here and ready to go for that teacher as they're leading that lesson. The lessons are very engaging. So sometimes, like this one, there's an interactive wheel that can, it can move. We've got Jeopardy built into some of these. So there's some gamified lessons and activities in here to make sure that we keep the kids engaged and excited in learning about health and wellness. So if, let's say health is being taught either in a homeroom or in a gym, and you don't have time for a full, 20-minute lesson, then you can use our bite-sized pieces. And so the bite-sized pieces right here, they're about 5 to 7 minutes a piece, and you can just click on one of those, and what it's going to do is it's going to take you right to that activity within the slide deck. So they're still learning the same lesson, it's just broken down into those bite-sized pieces for delivery. All right, so that is our health education piece There's a couple of other things there that you can see, and what we can do is provide everyone with temporary access for the next 2 weeks. So if you want to get in there and look around, we would love for you to have that opportunity, but for time, I'm going to move on. Unless there are any questions. So any questions about the health curriculum? All right, okay. So after health, any question? After health, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our PE journeys. And so PE journeys, we have it broken up in K through 5, and then we have 6 through 8. All of them, all of the activities are developmentally appropriate. They are all meant to focus on inclusive practices. That's always been something that's been very important to catch. And so in any of our trainings, you're going to hear about inclusion, ways to adapt to the curriculum, ways to keep everybody involved, and everyone is going to feel successful, which is one of my favorite things about our curriculum. We also focus on increasing MVPA, moderate to vigorous physical activities. So you're going to see kids moving at, rapid paces and very excited and engaged. So in our curriculum, in all of the curriculum pieces, we have these 4 kind of characters that lead you through the curriculum. K through 5 is very heavy on the characters. You're going to see that in our gift library. Our 6 through 8, we actually have student athletes that show, the gifts and things like that. So instead of it being all animated, we have student athletes in those. These right here are just gifts that can be used. Gifts or GIFs, everybody says it different, but they can be used in the gym. So if you're practicing, a bounce pass, you can have this visual up in the room while the teacher is walking through and teaching bounce pass with their students. And so there's a full library of those available. So and also there's standards alignment. So everything's aligned to the state standards, to national standards, and your teachers can find that here very easily. I'll kind of open this up too so you can see. So what you would do is find the strand that your teacher's working on, and then it gives them lots of activities that they can do to make sure that they're meeting that strand or that team. So our curriculum is created in 2 ways. There is a scope and sequence. So all of it builds upon itself. It's a 36-week scope and sequence. And so if your teacher wants to move forward with that, it is ready to go. Look at scope and sequence. Look at throwing and catching. So this would be our Unit 4, Manipulative Skills, Throwing and Catching. There's going to be a lot of verbiage here, and that mainly is for lesson planning, vertical alignment, all of that good stuff. There's guided questions for physical literacy as well as social emotional learning, and then there's some teacher resources in here. There's also assessments that are created, so there's lots of checklists, unit tests, all of these assessments so that the teachers aren't having to recreate the wheel on that. In our sample unit, you can actually click on the and go straight to the lesson. So we always ask our teachers to provide variety every day in the class, and you're going to see that represented here. Warm up, they're going to do a lesson, they're going to do some Go Fitness activity and a cool down. And what your teacher can do is just click on those activities, and it's going to print up the actual lesson. So here is elbow tag. It's going to give them all the information that they need to teach this. Some of our lessons have videos, and so if it has a video attached, it's going to be right here. Those videos are teacher facing. It's just a quick demo so that they know how to teach it without going through all of the instructions. And so more and more of those will be developed throughout the year. Also, there's a little print button right here. So for those teachers who still enjoy printing and having a hard copy, that is definitely an option. All right, going back. Okay, so that is that scope and sequence idea. Now, there are teacher resources that will help teach that activities. So in throwing and catching, you can teach throwing and catching in a lot of different ways. This one is looking at softball. So now we're in more of a sports-specific way of looking at things. So this is all about teaching softball. You're going to see our safety hints there. That's really big on our state standards. You're also going to see teaching cues. So this breaks down like the exact cues that your teachers should focus on whenever they're teaching a skill. And then the activities are now organized in a different way. instead of organizing them like, hey, this is what you should do on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's actually organized by how we introduce the skill, develop, and then apply would mean they're actually playing the game. In catch, we very rarely play a full game of anything. We really focus on small games, and that allows your teacher to provide differentiated instruction. It allows all students to feel successful and have their hands on the equipment. So it's a kind of a different way of teaching that we focus on. This right here that you're seeing are visuals for any type of vocabulary words. So all of our lessons have just vocabulary that's been created. These are great for your younger students. It's also great for your special education students or English language learners because they're all done in English and in Spanish. So if you have teachers that create word walls, that is a great vocabulary resource to have for that. And then the last thing I want to show in this area is our teaching slides for PE. So in PE, of course, we would never sit our kids down and say like, hey, the best way to learn softball is to sit and talk about it. No, we wouldn't do that. But what we could do is we just provide this as visual cues. So if I'm helping everyone to throw, then I got this up, they can see the cues, they can watch the GIF, and so they know exactly how to do that skill as the teacher's walking around and helping with it. Okay. All right. There's a couple of other resources that your teachers will be able to find down here in the supplemental resource place. One section that I love is all of our inclusion materials. So we have an inclusion guide that will help your teachers to adapt either equipment or environment for their students that have a physical disability. And then we also have a full learning session around how to work with students who have an intellectual disability. These right here are visual aids. If you have ever been in a special education classroom, you'll see lots of visual aids because they're really helpful for our students. And so we created them with PE in mind. And so you're going to see different cue cards where your teachers can create schedules for your students or if-then reports. So lots of things that you can do with that. All right, so moving out of PE, you can imagine how many tabs I have open at this point. So moving out of PE, now we're going to go into what we call SEL journeys, and this is our SEL curriculum. So there's lots of different ways to teach social emotional learning. As a matter of fact, in our PE training, we point out to our PE teachers that they have been teaching social emotional learning for years and years and years before it was even, a cool term that we're hearing so much in education. Every time a teacher is working on teamwork, is working on setting goals, all of that is social emotional learning. So there's a lot of it built into our PE program. And then if you wanted to go even a step further, then we have this SEL specific program. So we teach SEL through multicultural dance. And so what the teacher would do is take their class on a journey or on a trip. You would choose either animated dancers if you're in the younger grade levels, or you can choose adult artist-led dancers, so it's actually people for the higher grades. And everyone gets both options, so you can go back and forth. Then you would choose a destination. I'm sure this is pretty small to see, but we've got destinations all over the world that you can choose from. So let's actually go to Spain. All right, then you choose your competency. And there's self-awareness, management, relationship skills, all of these things, and then your sub-competency. After you choose what we want our lesson to be, then you're going to take a journey and you're going to take a trip for that. So this is like the little intro that happens. Then we're going to talk about our big idea.
Welcome to today's journey. Our big idea today is making friends. A great way to build friendships is to ask questions and be a good listener.
All right, so she goes into a little bit more detail about making friends and the importance of making friends. There's always going to be a question, so you can start to get kids talking about that question before you really dive in. And then you're going to travel. So now I'll show you our travel clip.
Welcome to Spain, a European country known for castles, bullfights, and a passionate dance called flamenco. Originating in the southern region of Andalusia, flamenco grew from the unique interplay of the outcast populations during the 18th century. In the of Flamenco and its association.
So as you can see, it's just a little bit of learning about that area. Well, now we're gonna learn a dance that is from Spain. And so we'll all together as a class stand up and we'll learn the dance. What's fun is that they get lost in the dancing and they think that that's what it's all about, but then we actually connect back to that lesson, that big idea that we were working on. So in this one, it was about being a good friend and listening. So I'll let it play just a little bit more so you can see some of the dances.
Get ready to move. Stay in your own personal space.
Watch and follow along as our teachers Nita and Matt show all the steps. Then the
All right. I should have picked something with a little more upbeat music.
our first
since
step
it's
is our
late.
rhythm claps.
Because it's late in the day. So then right after that, after we dance as a class, and I know you might be thinking, do kids really dance anymore? And they really do. We've seen that once you create an environment where it's, just part of what we do every day, we've seen some really great success stories coming from that program. So right after that, then it goes back to that big idea and ties the connection into, well, how are you a good friend? How do you ask these questions?
Remember your small talk question from earlier? Hey,
Right.
great.
So once your journey is complete, then you start to collect these passports or these stamps, and so you can actually travel around the world and collect these stamps. There's also just this quick little session report that your teacher can do, and it allows them to know, how active was everyone, how engaged were they, and so it's a good way just to keep up with, the way that program went. All right, there's one last piece, not my email, but one last piece I want to show you. That is our coordination. I think I have it open. There we go. So remember earlier when we were talking about how do we actually create the behavior change that we're wanting to see? And environment is a really big piece of that puzzle. So what we've done is we've created something called our coordination kit. And this coordination kit is a roadmap that helps schools to create a healthy environment using very small, easy to do steps because we know how busy everyone is on the campus. When everyone does these small steps, it amplifies your voice and you're able to truly make a difference on the campus. Along with our Texas packages, we have trainings developed to help support this idea of coordinated school health. So we have a whole child leadership training that you receive, and then also something called the language of catch. And I know I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go through one, quick section on this. So what we've done is we've really thought about what does the year look like for a school, and we've created these themes to fit that process. So at the beginning of the year, we are asking all adults to become adult role models. And so that's the theme to kick off the school year. There's always going to be a goal, and there's only 4 themes a year, so we're not asking too much of the schools. We see catch, which means adults are role modeling it. We hear catch, so we're starting to hear the language of health and wellness. We do catch, that's when the students are getting involved, and we do a really neat little pass it on activity, and then we engage with catches where we invite parents to come up and be a part of the program. So in our first one, all of these are just resources. There's videos that let you know how to implement health and wellness. There are checklists that are available. The really big thing that we're asking our campus to do is called the All-In Challenge. So the All-In Challenge is a really simple task that we ask all participants in the school to do. And when everyone does that one small little task, then all of a sudden the kids start to take notice. Oh, my science teacher, she walks her dog. That's how she stays healthy. So the task for this first one is that we are asking our teachers to become role models for health and wellness. This is working a dual purpose. One, it's letting the kids see that they're role models, but 2, it's also helping our teachers to understand that they are healthy role models. So even if they're not the epitome of health and they don't do everything, we all have some sort of health that we follow. So this right here is an example of that. then they can pick out their superhero costume, they can put a face on it, and then they identify and type in how they move and stay active, value healthy eating, and practice healthy habits. We know that not all schools are there yet, and so we've also created an option that makes it really simple to just print the same thing. So in this one, you could print it out at a faculty meeting, the teachers can fill it out there, and then that's all they have to do for that theme. They're identifying who they are, how they move and stay active, how they value healthy eating, and then how they practice healthy habits. Put all these on a bulletin board in the cafeteria or in the front office, and then all of a sudden the parents who are coming on your campus will start to take notice. Add them to your social media, and you start to see there are tons of resources available here to do this work. There are morning announcements that are created, letters, emails, everything's here. There's also visual aids so you can see what other schools have done to create their healthy environment. If a campus is ready to take it and run with it and do even more, then we have something called our coordination extensions. So there's the one ask for the theme, nothing more. But if your school wants to take it further, then they can do a coordination extension. We have some schools that focus on social emotional learning, and so they do more with that. We have others who focus on family engagement or staff wellness. And so the school really gets to choose the direction that they want to take this. We believe so much in the environment piece and the importance of this that this coordination kit is actually free and included in all of our curriculum offerings. So if you buy the health curriculum, you're going to get the coordination kit too, because it really is what ties everything together and makes that behavior change that we're looking for. All right. I know I said that was the last one. There was one other thing I wanted to show you, and that was Catch My Breath. So Catch My Breath is a 5th through 12th grade anti-vaping curriculum. It has been free for the past couple of years thanks to a generous donation from CPS. And so it is, again, evidence-based, and it's just a great way to help you with, what is turning into a really serious problems on our campus, which is vaping. So here there is the Core 4 curriculum, and I say Core 4 because it's 4 lessons that are taught in that grade level. That's the evidence-based piece. Outside of the Core 4, though, there's lots of different resources that are available here. The additional resources you can teach through PE and active settings, humanities, lots of different classes. There's also work that is student-led, so they can do the work on their own. There are virtual field trips that are available here. And then there's also different assignments that you can give to students they can do at home, and then they can return to you. So lots of different options within our Catch My Breath curriculum. There's also a teaching training course in here, so the teachers can get trained on their own on how to deliver this information. And for our older students, our 9th through 12th graders, there's a great deal about peer-led interactions. And so we equip the teenagers to actually teach the lessons and hold conversations and all of that around vaping, because we feel like they do a good job, maybe even sometimes a better job of listening to their peers than they do us. All of this has been done in partnership with Discovery Education, so you're going to see lots of great graphics here in the Catch My Breath curriculum. That was a lot. Sorry I hit you with so much at one time. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any
Which
questions?
of the programs were, I guess, free again, or, like Catch My Breath was through CPS donated. What were the other 3? She said 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did. It's Catch My Breath. It's going to be Catch Healthy Smiles. That is an oral health program that we have for kinder through 2nd grade. And then our Sun Safety curriculum as well, which was created with MD Anderson. And so that's available. The other 3 pieces, those are all paid curriculum, and so you can purchase it just individually if you want to, or you can purchase those things in a package.
Any other questions?
Give free access for the next 2 weeks, so we can can create a temporary account if you would like to go in and have an opportunity to really dig in on your own. So we're happy to do that.
We would like that.
Okay. The majority votes yes, we would very much like to have free access.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll set up an account today and I'll share the information.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask? Okay, Ms. Green, I think we're good on our end.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Y'all have a good rest of your night.
You too, thank you. So what do we think?
Can you go over how we already implement some of these TEKs
Sure.
at the grade levels?
Sure. We have an adopted curriculum, and so we just simply follow our adopted curriculum across K through 12. And so this would be either replacement. As we could tell, we had lots of kind of options and different pieces we could kind of use or not use. But primarily, I wanted this to be a focus on the additional parts that we're kind of not hitting on, like the anti-vaping, and having more of a, district-wide expectation for how we should be managing that. For instance, when our students go to ISS for vaping, what are we doing to help correct that behavior other than just putting them in ISS and they complete their assignment, right? In ISS, they could potentially be doing some of this anti-vaping curriculum where the expectation now gets embedded into that assignment. So while they're assigned to ISS for vaping, in addition to that, they have to do X, Y, and Z curriculum with fidelity so that we know that they're at least getting something out of that experience rather than just completing an assignment and hoping that they learn their lesson. But without the proper education and tools, I feel like we're probably not doing our students a service in terms of trying to truly correct their behavior on that.
And we do, like in ADC and sometimes in ISS, have the counselors go visit, but this would really be helpful to have tools to have them actually use. And then we know that we're hitting all the points and really getting it.
There's accountability.
Yeah, done right.
Because if they end up doing it again, and then we can look at the curriculum or look to see kind of where the gaps or disconnects are so that maybe we can get a better understanding of why we're having repeat offenders or why we're still seeing this issue even though we do have curriculum and we do have a plan. Perhaps maybe there's something else we're missing. And so that was one big piece I wanted to make sure was something that we were aware of, not to mention it's free. It's hard to be free, and I'm not sure if everyone's aware of Catch in general, but it's a national known, extremely popular, well-used, and so their reputation is stellar, and their resources are top-notch.
Is this SEL part of the curriculum that you were talking about putting in?
This would be one component through the health. As you could tell, the social emotional learning piece comes more through the coordination of movement and exercise, which I find to be really cool. I really feel like our elementary level students would enjoy that in the sense of they could kind of do two things at once in terms of exercising and wellness, but also learning the teamwork and those soft skills and really kind of bringing all those worlds together. That is definitely another thing I wanted to make sure we were aware of, because when we say social emotional learning, that looks completely different at each grade level and each topic and each scenario. And so this was SEL through a health education and just wellness piece. And no, we are not quite doing that as of yet. We do hit on SEL through PE and health. However, through this type of approach, it's not quite done this way. So this would be an option for discussion if we'd like to kind of see more of that happening in the classrooms.
And it's also an extra resource to pull from.
Correct. It just provides our teachers more tools and options when they're wanting to do something different or they realize they need to differentiate their instruction because they have a different class with different needs. This just becomes another option for them.
It looks really well done and user-friendly.
Yeah.
Can it be used as a prevention instead of as once they've already been caught doing it, I mean, why wait until they're caught doing it? You utilize it as a prevention.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing, what I picked up on was there were intervention measures where it helps educate the student as to the why and the why you should not. But in terms of why we should do it, period, that is definitely in that program, for sure.
There's definitely a lack of education when it comes to the vaping, because it's definitely an epidemic with our kids right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And they don't realize what the aftermath is, like what we see in the hospital with these people's lungs, and that it's not like smoking, it's worse.
And the Catch My Breath, it starts at 5th grade. So.
Exactly where it needs to begin.
Because it's really bad at the children.
And also too, on that note, Ms. Garza, one of our high school counselors, will also be reviewing some of the curriculum that she's currently using or is going to want to use after we kind of review, and if it's approved by this committee, that is something that we're wanting to push out at the high school, just in terms of our ability to get that information out now before we are able to kind of maybe purchase something like this and then develop an implementation plan so that we're just streaming that across all those grade levels. So that'll be something we touch upon a little bit later too, because we know vaping is a big topic and it needs to be something that we're all aware of and definitely have a plan for as a district.
I wish there was something we could do like in the community with these shops that sell them, because they're supposed to be the age of 21. Well, we don't have a 21-year-old in the high school
Right.
that I'm aware of. That, like, how are they getting them? You know, like, I feel like it needs to also crack down in the community. But I don't know how we can do that.
No, it's a great question. If anybody has any ideas on that, please let me know.
Well, we do ask the kids, that's what we're hearing now, how true it is, but they don't get punished further for telling the truth. And they're saying that they go buy them,
Yeah.
that they're able to buy them from the stores.
There's somebody that's selling them.
I think there's a lot of somebody's.
And that's another thing too, some of those things are just so out of our control where even if we were to identify what the issue is, then it becomes, well, we can call law enforcement, they could come and crack down that shop, but then there's like another shop on every other corner. It's just like,
I know.
like you said, the key is the education and the awareness so that if everyone's aware of what this stuff truly is and how the effects are not just long-term, but there's very short-term effects where, you know, as we see on the news, we're not even sure what our students might be ingesting in terms of a vape pen because there's just so many different variations of what those things are. A student could be thinking it's one thing, whereas it's something else entirely, like could be fentanyl. And we all know what could happen if it happens to that.
I mean,
And we have had
embalming fluid. I mean,
some of them
you know,
laced.
Mhm.
We have had some of them laced and kids have to go to the hospital.
Neuro hospital at that, because they're gone. They don't come back from that.
So what else did we think? Is there anything else there that we'd like to kind of discuss or talk about?
So they said they didn't have a sex ed program. Are we looking at?
Yes, that will be something that we talk about perhaps maybe in the second meeting, maybe into the third meeting, depending on how much we get through this agenda here today. Because I wanted to start us off with talking about just curriculum in general, and then we'll back up a little bit to kind of get to the initial kind of beginning of the year items, if you will. But CATCH is a coordinated school health program, which is part of our district requirements to have as a district. We do have that. We do satisfy those 8 components, but we don't do it quite in the way that CATCH presents it, where it's a true fully formatted plan where it takes into scope all of those components across all grade levels. It provides all those options and resources for our teachers to have. So we do that, but we don't have it in terms of like this kind of packaged program. And so I really appreciate Nurse Abbott reaching out to the presenter to have her present to us today, because I thought that was a good place for us to start, because before we get into the human sexuality piece again, I like to talk about the health piece as well, and how, yes, they might be kind of together, but they're definitely separate. But also wanting to bring awareness to what we're currently doing with our health and PE curriculum, and just to see if there was anything that you all felt or thought would be something we could do to either do something different or enhance, change, or improve. And so here we are. talking about catch and coordinated school health. Nurse Abbott, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, I think she did a good job of summarizing the different programs, and then now it's just going to be to narrow down which ones we're interested in.
So, and if we are interested, I heard we definitely are interested in the anti-vaping.
Yes.
Catch my breath. Okay. So what's going to happen is, because this is curriculum that we're going to want to push out, if we're as a committee in approval of using anti-vaping, catch my breath, then we can kind of take a vote. And what we'll do is at our next school board meeting, bring those curriculum recommendations to our school board members so that they can review as a team and either approve or let us know that they would like to see something different. So if I kind of can get a vote on catch my breath, anti-vaping awareness, just show of hands who would like to see that recommended. Gosh, I think that is everybody. Okay, then I will make a note on that, and that will be something that we bring to our Board of Trustees at the November regular meeting.
Most of the other curriculums is only through 8th grade, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the catch my breath, or substance and misuse is K through 8. The catch my breath portion is free, 5 through 12. Oral health, free, K through 2. Sun safety, free, pre-K to 5. Mental health and social emotional learning, not free, K through 12. PE, not free, pre-K to 8. Nutrition, not free, pre-K to 8.
Did any of those other options interest anybody here?
Social emotional learning is of interest to us, but I don't know if it's better than what we've already got, or if,
I don't know if the high schoolers will go for the dancing component.
yeah, I don't.
You don't think so? You don't think they're ready to take a trip to Spain?
I know some of them who might like the dancing company. But I think that what we've got is pretty good compared to
Primary,
this.
we'll take a trip to Spain.
Any day of the week, right?
Oh, gosh, yes.
And-
Take a trip anywhere.
And what we can do too is, since obviously I'm kind of putting everybody on the spot to make a decision on whether or not this curriculum should be something we continue to pursue, since we already kind of voted on the catch my breath, what we can also do is take catch and all the components, and whether it's free or not free or just the grade levels, we'll take that to our next principals meeting and have those resources available for them in advance for their review. We'll have those conversations with them, and if there's anything that comes from those, we'll bring those back here, and then we'll kind of pick up where we left off, or where we'll leave it off right here. Is that okay?
And then can we also like share it like for us, like with our PE coaches? Let them-
Absolutely.
Like how she said she was gonna give us free access because
Yes.
that way they can play with it also.
Yes, that was
pick
going to
up.
be part of what I was going to share out, and then reminding the principals to also be aware that this is going to be shared out with our PE folks, so that we're all kind of on the same page with that.
We
gotta look at it 2 weeks,
find
guys.
something for vaping that might be a little bit more tailored to our high school, if this one side is
Right.
grade level appropriate. I think we need something for 5th grade.
I think so
That's,
too.
that's grade level appropriate, but maybe there's other stuff out there that we could look at.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I just want to finish up coordinated school health, since that was our topic and it is an agenda item. Real quick here, what I have here, and this is going to be kind of what I use to help kind of framework and kind of help provide some structure to our meetings this year, is just this document. After tonight's meeting, after the sign-in sheets where you guys have helped me with your emails, I'm going to add your email to this document so that you will have access to everything here that is going to be kind of used as a review for this meeting and all the meetings we'll have this year. And so, for instance, right here, where we talked about coordinated school health, TEA provides a framework for the state. And so this is just a link here where it's about 10 to 12 pages of some good details about the coordinated school health from the TA perspective and the 8 components that they have endorsed. And so here are the 8. Each are hyperlinked to the official TEA webpage where you can click and read a little bit more about what each of those are. And just to get a sense of what is meant when we talk about coordinated school health, and just what those components are and how those look in our curriculum and instruction. And so CATCH is what we just got done covering. It's coordinated approach to child health. That was part of kind of our district recommended program for today. And so what we'll do then is kind of just move into, Ms. Garza, are you okay right now to give your part, since we're kind of still on that topic? And this is still talking about coordinated school health. Ms. Garza is going to kind of present to you all two different topics. One as suicide awareness, which falls under counseling and mental health. And then her second topic, which is kind of what we've already been talking about, vaping and THC under healthy and safe school environments.
And you guys have both of those in your little packets. It's this one, the suicide one, and this red ribbon week vaping outline. All right, so looking at the suicide one first, this is the presentation that we received from the Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation. So we coordinated with them and asked them if they would come and present to the high school specifically on suicide awareness. So they go over things like, it has a video, like a TED Talk, and that video is over a former student suicide story. So she goes over how she wanted to commit suicide, how she then wanted to reach out to other people and make sure that she was okay mentally, and it's her story about how we should be reaching out to others and making sure they're okay. And then it also goes through the struggles of being a teen, things like stress, anxiety, and depression, and all the things that they go through. It has a little chart in there that goes through anxiety and depression. And then it goes over how to spot signs of suicide, the student's role in spotting the suicide, which is not like, go be a counselor to the other student. It's, hey, go tell the counselor about this student instead, right? They're not supposed to be directly interfacing, but getting an adult involved. And then at the very end, it just has their resources and who the student can reach out to if they don't feel comfortable coming directly face to face. But this is the presentation that they provided. So you can just look through it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, was that presentation to the faculty or to the students?
To the students.
Oh, they did, okay.
Well, we want to do it. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
just presenting it to
We're
you guys
previewing
to
to
get
you
it
all for your
approved
approval.
to go to the students, yes. Yeah.
And just as a reminder, before we're going to ever deliver curriculum or instruction that are along the lines of this type of topic, or just these topics in general, this is why the SHAC exists, is to kind of give this a good review, whether it's from TMISD members, our parents here, so that we're all on the same page with what we're trying to show, what we're trying to do as far as education, and just some of our overall plans with just health and mental health in general.
So can we get the TED Talk title?
Yes, it's called Shattering the Silence, Youth Suicide Prevention. And it's by Sadie Penn.
Say it one more time.
So Shattering the Silence, Youth Suicide Prevention by Sadie Penn. It's a good 12-minute video. She speaks really well.
Is there anything that you wanted to cover on your slides here?
No, I went over the
Okay.
overview of it. Right, these aren't my presentations, they're other people's presentations, so I can't give the presentation, so. But I think they did a really great job.
Is this something that you all would like to see presented to our students?
Sooner than later.
Sooner rather than later. Yes, ma'am.
I believe they're on the calendar for December 14th. Right before break.
I guess if our question would be, as a show of hands, who would not like to see this and would recommend something different? Okay. Then this will also be added to a recommendation for the school board.
And
If
you
we
said
don't-
it was the Wellness Foundation?
Coastal Bend Wellness Foundation. Yeah, they cover things like health and mental health and substance abuse. then our next one is over vaping and THC. So we reached out to CODA, which is the Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, and we asked them to make a presentation as well. This is their outline that they sent us over their presentation. So it goes over stuff like what is a vape, what's in the vape, how the vape is used, not necessarily used by the student, but the mechanical components in the vape. And then it goes over THC, what exactly THC is, and especially things like the potency of it from like the 1970s to today, how much more potent it's become in society, and then the direct body effects of THC, especially for students. And then it also goes over how to quit and then resources for how to quit.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there part of this or component that has like something for parents, to educate parents?
CODA can come in and give a presentation.
I'm just saying because I have a freshman and we were talking about something else and somehow vaping got brought up. And she's a pretty bright kid and she's, the freshman student council president. She takes all honors classes. She's a pretty bright kid. And I asked her, I said, do you know what vaping is? And she said, well, it's like a plastic cigarette. But I was really surprised at her response. She didn't know what it was. And she really didn't know the impact that it has on her. When I asked my husband, he gave me almost the same answer as her. And so, they say it's worse than smoking, but they didn't really know, what I mean?
What it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer that education is key to everything. I think a lot of parents may not know, some of them know that their kids are doing this, but I don't think they really know how, like how she was saying, the long-term effects and the
Well,
impact on
honestly,
it.
the statistics aren't there yet because it hasn't been out long ago. It's just so new. It's just seeing the rapid effects that are happening way faster than what you would have seen in the 70s with cigarette smoking, kind of thing. That's the only thing they can compare to right now.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of statistics.
Well, would it be worthwhile for the district to possibly set up a parent night where some of these topics, such as vaping, were to kind of be covered by outside vendors or just people we can bring in to truly kind of bring attention to what they're doing with their program and awareness?
Like if you smell something sweet, there's so many things that you can like an alert a parent to, glassy eyes for the THC. There's things that parents might not be able to pick up on.
Well, and just identifying the chargers and the paraphernalia that goes with it, because, a lot of times the kids will, like when the parent gets there and they have like a charger and I'm like, they have this in their bag. It's a charger for a vape. I didn't find the vape, but, I know what it is. And they're like, no, that's just a charger for their, for their video game. And I was like, no, ma'am, that's not what that is. And so just even seeing or identifying like what are some of the things that they would see if they don't have any experience with it, and a lot of our parents don't, they really are buying whatever they're selling, they're just
I
like,
search
oh,
my
okay.
kids' rooms like at least once a week. I know that's a little invasion of privacy, but
But you
I'm
need
like,
to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're looking for,
Yeah.
like you said,
yeah.
The hardest stuff.
I was
The
surprised,
cake,
her answer
like
that she
the
didn't
cake
really
vapes
know
look
what exactly
like
it was.
the Nick vapes. Like they look the same, and it used to be like even just a year ago, any marijuana vapes or whatever had the symbol on it, and the cake vapes don't have the symbol on it. You can smell it; it's marijuana, but if you don't know what you're looking at, they're likely
Or if you don't
to
know
tell
what
you.
cake is, the brand.
Yeah, the cake is like marijuana.
See, I had no idea what that either
And because there's so many different variations and medically created strands and strengths and potencies, it's it almost seems like that would need to be in a series, like a 4-part series or something, just to cover the gamut of what it is.
That kids are being able to get a hold of these things. It's not like where you needed a drug dealer back in the day or something like that, you know, like they're going to stores and buying these things.
There's no middleman.
Or
There's no
online,
middleman anymore.
or online, I
Or-
think they
yeah.
online order.
And so,
I just think, educating our parents, what to look for, how to
That's
look
a
for,
good
and
idea.
the long-term effects of it, and then, of course, educating our students and kids as well. But I just think it needs to be like well-rounded, you know what I mean?
absolutely. And we can put something together. We'll talk as a team to kind of see if, and I'll ask you all, do you feel like that would be better delivered as a campus level type of presentation or as a district where we just talk about this kind of whole group?
I think you need to start with the high school and junior high.
Maybe middle school, high school, secondary, and then, yeah.
Kind of like a secondary audience and an elementary audience, because to me, the message or the presentation would look really different at the lower level than it would at the upper level. So what we can do is put,
Siblings, you know, you
right,
have people that have a high schooler and a kindergarten, you know, you never know. And so that kind of stuff is laying, or parents too, it's laying around the house,
right.
you know.
The hardest ones I struggle to identify or be able to kind of see are the ones that look like USB kind of thumb drives. In fact, I as a campus principal a couple years ago, I just remember seeing those in the computers. And I'm thinking, gosh, our kids are getting really good at storing their documents and being really on top of their homework assignments. And then even I learned, that they were just charging their device in class and nobody knew.
They're
Really
storing
good
other
at,
things.
the market is really good at designing
Camouflage.
to look like, for example, I had a water bong, and it looks like that, except with a thing in the middle. But it looks just like that. And they were carrying it around, and I was like, wait, what? Then you see 420 on the bottom, and then it has all the inner
A couple
parts.
things to tip you off, but yeah.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is, we'll look at kind of putting together two separate presentations, one for secondary, one for elementary. And when we get back as a group, we will review exactly what those presentations can look like. Hopefully be able to bring a couple of those presenters in to kind of just get a sense of what they would present over and to ask questions if we need to. And so that will definitely be something we look at for next time. Okay, so far so good, everybody. Right. So, to kind of get back to going in order of things, again, this is the beginning of the year, first meeting for school year 22-23, so I really appreciate you all being here. Just wanting to kind of recap last year, since I know a lot of us are from last year's committee. And again, on this document that I'll share with you guys at the end of this meeting has a summary of all the agendas and meeting recordings from last year. We also have here the SHAC annual reports. We also have just a couple quick resources and topics for SHAC meetings. So if you're interested in just kind of getting a sense of all the topics that we could potentially cover, because honestly, there's so many topics to discuss, we could have a meeting each week and still not get through all the topics that would be under SHAC's oversight. But laws and requirements, and also just kind of knowing all the things here that are requirements. And so when we talk about SHAC and we talk about just what are we truly responsible for as a committee, we are definitely responsible for the coordinated school health program. We're responsible for curriculum instruction, parent and family engagement, membership, and making sure that we have parents on our committee. We have at least 4 meetings. We also look at establishing a possible physical activity and fitness planning subcommittee. We are also responsible for compiling all of the recommendations and information and to kind of create a report at the end of the year that gets shared with the school board. And then, of course, this is probably more so for me than anybody, but just making sure that our website holds the required postings for SHAC and for other things that are related to school health. And so information about just SHAC in general, some updates. Here is more information on curriculum and instruction adoption. And then, of course, our favorite topic, sex education, and just some FAQs from TASB which is policy that governs for Texas, covers our policy within the state. And so that was just kind of a quick review and some resources for you all to have. We will definitely go over all this this school year. So just because we're not talking about it tonight does not mean it will not come up at the next meeting or two. And so for us today, just a quick glance at today and then of course for this school year, we're going to have 4 meetings at minimum. And if we need to have additional meetings or need to have a quick meeting to discuss a certain topic, we can absolutely do that. Just we can talk about that as a group as we need to. But 2 meetings in the fall, 2 meetings in the spring. And if we decide that when we start getting back on human sexuality and that curriculum and instruction, if we are wanting to provide a recommendation to the board to actually bring in an approved curriculum to begin teaching our students, then that would require us to go through some additional measures where we would have to have at least 2 public hearings where we would allow the public to come in and they would be able to ask us questions about the curriculum, and we would then have to present and to cover all that information at that time. And so that's just kind of a preview if we end up going down that road. Just to kind of give everybody some focused agenda topics for us. For this year in particular, and especially tonight, we are going to kind of quickly go over policy and requirements. We definitely have talked about the Coordinated School Health Program. We have touched on and we will continue to talk about human sexuality curriculum. Social and emotional learning, talked a little bit about that so far through physical education and health. But also know that social and emotional learning looks very different at each grade and each campus, and kind of depending on the topic or the need can look very, very different. And so when you hear social and emotional learning, that kind of is a very overarching topic where once you start dissecting it and breaking it down, there's lots of good stuff underneath it. And so one topic in particular that kind of falls under SEL in an indirect way is parent and family engagement. And so perhaps maybe that doesn't get talked about as much at or with the SHAC committee, but definitely something that we will incorporate more of this year in terms of just trying to have more of an awareness and an educational building capacity for our parents, like what we just got done talking about with anti-vaping. And finally, our SHAC policy, which is TEC 28.004, that is the policy that governs our committee. And so real quick, I just wanted to go through this with you guys. I did have this as a handout, so you can definitely look at this or just watch the kind of slideshow on the screen here. But just to make sure we're all aware of how kind of policy works and updates happen. And so right now we are kind of heading to the end of what I would consider to be the 87th legislative update. We are about to move into a new calendar year, 2023, which is going to bring forth a new legislative session. And so this is kind of just to recap the end of this one as we kind of head into a new year, into a new session. And so just again, to remind everybody about what is a SHAC. And again, it's to assist the district in ensuring that community values are reflected in the district's health, education, instruction. We talked a little bit about recommendations already tonight. Anytime we want to make a change to the district's health, education, curriculum, or instruction, we have to provide that recommendation to the school board for their approval. And here's an interesting topic. Are SHACs required? Absolutely, they are required. But there is a bit of a caveat that if for some reason we decide that we felt that there was not a need to have a SHAC, as a district of innovation, we could create a policy that would exempt us from having a SHAC. However, that has never been brought as a recommendation or up for discussion, but I just wanted to make you all aware that there are some DOI districts that do not have SHACs, and that's because they're allowed to if they write that policy into their plan. But I'm going to assume that we do not have that as a recommendation. We would like to keep our SHAC.
Correct.
Good. Who are the SHAC members?
Yes.
That's you guys.
I have a question on that.
Yeah?
We didn't have her last year, but we might invite Miss Mookie, the social worker. She asked me, I said, well, if you didn't get the memo, then don't worry about it, but I don't know.
She'll be brought in as more of a special guest,
Okay.
like VIP guest. But
I wasn't sure if she.
yeah, no, it's okay. But I do want to also bring attention to the fact that the SHAC truly is the school board's committee, because everything from the SHAC runs through the school board. And so one of the things that is important to keep in mind is that this is a committee kind of for parents. And so this is a direct audience for parents to have a place and an opportunity to kind of share their voice with the district, that if they do have recommendations, would like to see something done that would require a change, that they get that opportunity to have that voice be heard by the school board. And so really the SHAC is the catalyst between the community's, I guess, values and beliefs and wants when it comes to how we're educating our students on all these topics that we're talking about. And just real quick, so that everybody is aware, currently I am the chairperson just by default. However, that means that if in a second or two, when we kind of go through electing officers, if you would like to see another chairperson, absolutely, that is perfectly fine. But if you decide that you're just fine with me, then we will then look at having a co-chair that would have to be a parent. So part of the requirement of having a SHAC is to have a chairperson and a co-chairperson, and for either one of those persons to be a parent. No pressure, parents. Okay, talked about meeting requirements 4 times a year. Agendas are posted, very similar to how school board agendas are posted. We follow the Open Meetings Act, but not quite. So there's a bit of gray with some of that, but we do follow agenda postings and those types of requirements. So when it comes to having a video recording, that's a requirement. Making sure that the minutes from this meeting are posted timely within 10 days is a requirement. And again, just kind of not fully subjected to the Texas Open Meetings Act, but we do follow lots of the kind of initial rules that school boards have to follow. Sex ed curriculum. Again, boards must adopt a policy to establish a process for adoption of such curriculum, which we have already done a couple months ago when the school board approved a resolution for the SHAC to now go through the curriculum and to make a recommendation. Whereas last year, just to be clear, we reviewed, I believe, sex ed curriculum, but because we didn't have that resolution in place, nothing from those discussions could be brought forth as a recommendation because we didn't have the resolution in place to have that executed. Talking about that a little more. And then just some other rules that have to follow if we do decide that we do want to have an adopted sex ed curriculum. Parents have to give consent. Talking about opt-outs, capacity resources, and that's pretty much it for SHAC in the 87th legislative update. With the new session that will come forward next year, I'm sure SHAC will see some new updates, but until then, right? Okay. Are there any questions about what we just kind of covered? Anything, just because what we covered was updates to TEC 28.004, just that policy. And if we don't have any questions, we can then kind of move into the next kind of topic, which are the SHAC bylaws. Does everybody have a copy of this? Okay, good. Okay. So, was everybody aware that we had bylaws in place? Oh, no? No, yes?
We are now.
We are now. Good answer, good answer. Okay. So with any committee, especially the SHAC, because again, SHAC has the power to provide recommendations to the school board. There are bylaws that do govern the committee. And so we do have a vision statement. We have a mission statement. We have goals. Purpose, authority. For our legal scholars out there, again, just some overviews of just some of the bylaw kind of typical language that you would see. We've already kind of covered much of this already with the recommendations to the school board on the curriculum, anything to do with mental health, any type of wellness curriculum, that is our jurisdiction. Talking about the meetings, the voting, attendance, highly encouraged, but there's no punitive measure for missing, so no worries on that if you are unable to make one of the meetings, but definitely try to come as much as you can.
It says a quorum of at least 51%, like has to be here for us to vote and
Yes.
pass action.
So,
How many are we?
18 today. And if there's a need, if we feel that we would like to see more because some did not come tonight, or if we just know that they aren't here and that message is we are no longer interested in being on the committee this year, then we can definitely open up an application for parents to join the committee. But
18 of how many?
18 of about 37 or so. So if we're looking to have a really high number, which is a little unusual when it comes to SHAC, usually your committee is anywhere between 10 or 20. But if we would like to see more parents added, or to allow the possibility for a parent or two or whomever to have the opportunity to apply to be on the committee, we can certainly do that. That you all just tell me what you would like to see done with that.
I think I'm okay with the number as long as, because I think I know where you're going on that. Do we have quorum to vote?
Yeah.
Like,
We do. We do. Because this is our first official meeting with our committee members. And to me, this is our membership here today.
right.
So that's how I'm treating it, unless somebody sees it differently.
Is there a ratio, how many parents need to be here versus employees?
Majority need to be parents.
Do we have that today?
Raise your hand if you're a parent.
My grandparents.
I'm a district employee, but I'm a parent also, so.
If you are a parent of any student in the district, raise your hand. Okay. So what was that? I didn't quite get the count. Sorry. I saw like half hands. I'm like, okay, that's like an employee parent. Okay.
You need your co-chair.
And the two that just left aren't here anymore, they're parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'll say. We got those two right.
Those two are parents, yeah.
That's 11.
11 or 18.
So 11 of 18 definitely makes this, it makes it a quorum, and then therefore, if we do want to make those recommendations, we can bring those to the school board, okay? But again, if we'd like to add more, there is flexibility to do that, so you all just tell me, we can open up an application, we can open up to have parents join, if we'd like to see more parents on the committee.
And Nydia's not here, but she normally would be, but we have PTA going on at the primary right now,
Right.
so she's a parent too.
Would think, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, always a lot going on. But, so that's kind of, hopefully answers that. Attendance, membership, serve at least 1 year, can serve in subsequent years. I know a lot of you guys were here last year, so thank you so much for coming back again. Talking about chairperson, again. Electing hopefully a chair, a co-chair, and a secretary, okay? Serving 1-year terms. I know it's like everybody starts putting their heads down. Do we?
I'm taking notes, sir. No.
I say, is that what we're
I
doing?
nominate you as chair.
Say,
Dr.
oh,
White.
already got second, so. Say, is that a majority vote then?
Yes. Chair.
I can be the chairperson, not a problem. However, who would like to be the co-chair to the chairperson? Who has to be a parent?
Come out.
Is Is this where we do nose goes or, draw straws to see who gets the shortest one or?
Not it.
The only responsibility of the co-chair would to be a person that would be available to review and to be a sounding board off of in terms of being able to build the agenda to make sure that we have everything on there and that we're not leaving anything out. I will take care of the majority, if not all, of the prep work to make the SHAC committee run and go. So a co-chair can not necessarily be a name only, but there is no pressure that if you are a co-chair, that there's like this immense amount of work or all this pressure you need to feel, nothing like that. No,
I'll
maybe,
do it.
maybe. You'll do
I
it?
motion that Christie does it.
Say, who wants a second?
I'll second.
Oh, that was quick, okay. So is it majority in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And then finally, the secretary, who technically the secretary is the person who kind of takes the minutes and kind of makes sure is the scribe and is taking all the notes on the meeting, which would then become the official minutes of the meeting. Who would like to be that?
I nominate Denise Villalobos.
I do not want to do it. No.
No. Is that a hard no?
That's a pretty hard no.
A shame, because she's taking some good notes.
No, I was about to say, I already thought we had you locked up.
Yeah, I thought so.
Excellent notes.
Nobody was taking notes because we already thought it was you.
Okay.
I didn't bring a pen.
I borrowed a pen.
Our secretary didn't even bring a pen.
I second that.
Oh, all right, seconded. Denise, you good with that?
Yeah.
All right, majority approves.
My responsibility start at this meeting?
Yes, they started like maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
And you're already doing an excellent job.
You are doing so wonderful. Okay.
We started at 4:45.
Thank you.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll have that down and updated for the group here. And real quick, just looking at the bylaws, did anybody see any need to bring any changes or to see a need to do anything different or to write something in that's new or anything? Typically, that is the majority of what a SHAC would have in terms of their bylaws. There's usually a framework that's adopted by TASB, and we follow that framework. We insert our information. If there's anything different we'd like to add, we can. But if there is not, then there is no need to do anything different if we don't want to. Like, we don't want to have 10-year assignments to the committee or anything like that? Okay. So if we are good with that, then are we okay and approve the SHAC bylaws as they are currently?
Yes.
Approved. Okay, awesome, guys.
We need like a little bell or
I know,
something official,
I'm gonna get better at this. This is my first official SHAC, my first official SHAC. I'll bring
You're doing
mine.
an amazing job.
Yes.
Just the prep work, like, that's amazing. You're gonna have to get a binder.
That's coming next.
I love it. You did a great job.
That's coming next. But this is my digital binder for now. So, looking at the last final thing that I wanted to make sure you all are aware of and had the opportunity to kind of think about if it was something that was of interest to you, which is the subcommittee to the SHAC. This subcommittee does focus specifically on physical activity and fitness. And so part of our requirement is to at least have a conversation and discussion about having this subcommittee. And so that does require some members electing, or I guess volunteering to become subcommittee members. And then that subcommittee would have a few little things to do as a group outside of SHAC that they would kind of bring back and share amongst the actual committee itself. But if that is something that is not of interest to anyone here, then we could kind of create that type of subcommittee within the actual committee itself to do the same thing. So instead of pulling it out, we just kind of keep it into the actual committee. How do we feel about that?
I'm okay with keeping it in as long as like, I don't know, there's like PE representatives here.
Yes.
So.
That when it comes time to talk about physical activity and fitness, we'll have our representatives here to be our guests, our presenters, if you will, to kind of make sure we get their voice included as well. So if we're okay with that, then we'll make sure to kind of note here that this was something that we will just keep in the committee itself. No, dude.
I was gonna nominate, I thought I heard PE earlier.
Yeah. Your kids are really physical, like you got this.
So just to kind of wrap things up, we have two more topics to talk about. Oh, you're fine. So, and I guess before I talk about the last two topics, how is this time, 4:30 to 6:30? I know trying to do things during the day, we all have jobs, our lives are super duper busy, but what would be a preferred time for you all?
I think it'd be easier to get out a few minutes earlier to miss all the traffic coming out of both campuses. Like
So what time would that work for you?
3:30?
3:30?
She's like, I live in Orange Grove, so I'm like,
Well, she gets out at 3. I don't know how whoever's picking up kids
Yeah, I
and
can
stuff.
do
And that's the thing, that's why I asked, because I know our situations are so different all over the place.
I like the lunchtime.
Lunchtime? So lunchtime, 3:30, 4:30? Do we just do one of all the above?
As long as it's scheduled, I can do lunchtime. We just have to have it scheduled.
Or is it more important to just have these scheduled way in advance so that as we kind of make our plans in advance, we can plan for those times?
Like I put the dates already, I just didn't put a time on my calendar.
the only thing would be like for us.
I thought it was
we're
at
at the
lunch.
same campus, so one of us
I was
would
like
have to stay.
about to leave at
I
11.
was kind of asked to have it after school, so I kind of had to deviate from the lunch schedule. But we
But are
can,
they like hour and a half? This is an hour and a half. Or,
it's about 2 hours.
okay, this is 2 hours. When we had it last year, it was 1 hour during lunch,
Mhm.
which, that's
It would go
cool.
longer.
But, yeah, that's what I'm
It would go longer
saying.
than an hour,
So
yeah.
it would be a longer lunch. period. Okay.
You
I
all
mean,
tell
I'm
me,
okay,
and we can keep the meetings to an hour. It just means that our agenda will be super focused on one, maybe two topics. It'll be like that.
I'm pro more discussion, so.
Because we only technically meet 4 times a year.
I like this time, the 4:30, personally. 'cause
Okay.
And I got here on time, so it's not that big a
So
deal.
if Miss Vega got here on time, that kind of
I got out of all that traffic and.
means the rest of us don't have an excuse, right?
That's what, yeah, as long as I know.
Still got your car Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, if there's a need to make a change, or if someone kind of has second thoughts or just wants to really let me know that maybe it's good to have a balance or whatever, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm completely open and flexible to the committee's needs. It's not like I'm trying to peg you all into what this is. It can be flexed into what it is that you all need it to be.
I don't know who made the phone call, but that was like super helpful.
Oh, that's Miss Williams.
Yeah.
That's the secretary to our department.
I'll be there.
So with that said, real quickly, the wraparound student services, I'm not sure if that was really discussed last year or if that term was really used, but I definitely want to kind of throw that term out there, and it definitely will be something you'll hear a little bit more about from me and in this committee, and possibly even as a district as we start pushing out some of our wraparound service best practices and initiatives for this year. When I say wraparound service, what I'm talking about is making sure that our student services are incorporating the whole child. And by whole child, I mean some of the things that I've listed out there, such as academic, social, emotional, behavioral, and some of the things that are going to be new this year, which are the clinical services, talking specifically about health and mental, okay? And so clinical is definitely nowhere near the wheelhouse of educators. We're here to teach our children on our curriculum and instruction, but as we all know, and especially with COVID being a thing of the last 2 years, there is definitely an acute need to be mindful of our students' mental health and just overall kind of awareness, and to kind of start looking at services that are more clinical in treatment to better support and help our students on the outside so that when they do come back in to us, they're more ready to, be engaged and to, there's a willingness and not so much a reluctancy to not learn. We're equipping them to come to us ready to receive our instruction. Because as we all know, if a student is having any sort of health or mental, issue or concern, it makes it almost nearly impossible to be successful as a student. And so just bringing that awareness piece to our teachers has been a big eye-opening experience this year. Because we're all aware of it, but we're not necessarily aware of what are the resources or the tools or even the options for how us as a teacher or us as a parent can really help and support the whole child, that student. And so just a couple things I wanted to kind of give you guys as handouts were the ASCD framework for whole child development and also Maslow's hierarchy of student needs. And just how all these things kind of work together to kind of come together as a program of support for our students. And also one thing too, when it comes to clinical services that we are about to kick off in the next month is our Memorandum of Understanding with TCHAT, which is a telehealth clinical service provider. They are outfitted through UT Rio Grande Valley. And because of the MOU that we just were able to execute 2 days ago, we will begin working with them and their free services with our students. And so this is a completely free opportunity for any of our students who do have needs that are a little bit more acute and beyond our ability to address as educators. And so with the mentioning of our social worker, she is going to be the one that will be the liaison between the district and TCHAT. And so if there's ever a student that is identified that needs clinical services, they can have the opportunity to receive such services through TCHAT. And so again, that's completely new. We're very excited about that. There will be on each of our campuses a TCHAT location where on at least 3 days a week, they will be available to us and our students. So if there is a need to see students on campus, that will become an option. If there's also a need to do anything outside of our campus, that is an option. And so I'm very, very excited about that partnership because I know there are several students who will benefit immediately from this.
How is the parent notified, or what part of the process?
At the very beginning, at the identification stage. That's a great question because how does all that work, right? How does the flow chart, how does the decision-making process work? That'll be something we get into next time when we talk about kind of just what we do as a district for best practice and helping our students through some of this stuff.
Identifying?
Yes, just identification and just participation and just those types of steps. And what we do along the way to kind of help and address in those areas.
Yeah, because I was curious on the criteria as well, because Trevino came to me about it on my daughter in
Okay.
particular, so I'm excited to hear more about that.
Awesome. And just to kind of dovetail into parent and family engagement, this is an opportunity for us to really help better build capacity with our parents as far as what we're trying to do on that end, just because clinical services is a relatively new thing. I know we've talked a lot about social and emotional, we talk behavior, we talk academic, but the clinical piece is really something that if we can add that in, that's just going to help provide another layer of support for students who truly need that layer. And just in addition to TCHAT and those services, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have access to federal funds, our Title I funds, that through Mr. Van Matry and the school board's approval, we have added additional personnel to provide support in the whole child development process. We have added parent facilitators at our elementary campuses. We now have added communities and schools at the middle school level, and our social worker is at the high school, who also supports just about every other campus as well as ACC. Mr. St. John, do you mind sharing just real quick, like a 30-second kind of just your impression of communities and schools and what that's looking like?
It's fantastic. She has some great ideas for incentives for grades and attendance. And one kind of obstacle running into is she doesn't really have a budget. So that's an issue. It's hard to really do a whole lot other than she does a lot of counseling. She does a lot of tutoring. Her caseload is blowing up because the students really gravitate towards her. And I think she could do even more with a little more resources.
Have her email me.
Okay.
Have her email me.
Crystal. Crystal De Leon Madel. She's our CIS. Is she at the intermediate? No, she's here at middle school.
Middle school. And that's unique to middle school because of the unique needs our middle school students have. But we're all aware of that, right?
Well, unless you have high school students that still have the mentality of middle school.
Yes, unfortunately. But that's why we have that social worker there to help them with that.
She wasn't
But-
there when my kid went.
Yeah, that is new for this year. And like I said, we've accessed our federal funds to help provide support in those areas. And that is definitely something we are looking to continue based on the feedback and just how things are going and the needs. If they're still there, we will continue with these personnel in place. And finally, just to kind of leave this with you all here tonight, our district wellness and our local policies for district wellness. I know when we start talking policy, we start kind of getting up into the sky and it's a little bit detached from what we actually do by being boots on the ground and just delivering curriculum and instruction to our students. But there are some governing things that we do need to be mindful of as we are helping our students learn. And so one thing that is policy that does fall under SHAC's jurisdiction is the district wellness requirements. Is anybody aware that there are district wellness requirements? There's policies, there are plans that we have as a district. Okay? Well, FFA legal and local are the two policies that govern district wellness. And there are several criteria that as a district, we do need to be mindful of that we are doing and following and all that good stuff, which kind of gets captured into our local plan. And the local plan was printed out for you guys. It acts as a regulation, which means that administratively, that is our procedures for how we implement our policy. So our local plan is what we as a district, our administrators do and follow, which is derived from our policy. Essentially, it's our policy in action. And that will be something that would be a potential subcommittee review by our physical activity subcommittee, but because we decided that we would like to keep that just whole group, I kind of leave this with you all here tonight to kind of review, look over, and to have the opportunity to bring any sort of recommendations for change or updates. And we will kind of look at that as our first agenda topic next time we meet and kind of just take it from there, if we're okay with that. And if you can believe it, we have about 20 minutes left. But some of us thought it was an hour and a half, so I guess in some eyes, I could be seen as 10 minutes over time. So now, man, I'm just like, I'm just waiting. I'm just like, okay, get the hook. Okay. So, since we all kind of thought the time's all over the place, meeting is adjourned. I want to say thank you guys for making it out tonight and for being a part of our first meeting. And so I hope to see you guys at our next one. Please make sure you had a chance to sign in. If you hadn't got a chance to grab all the handouts, feel free to grab a handout or two. And if you'd like to hang back to ask any questions or just to visit, we'll be here.